Hello, Don.
Hey Jeff, how's it
Well,
going, man?
it's going okay. I can't complain. Thank you for jumping in the gap. Said I need
Yeah.
somebody to help me out here. I've got a situation.
hmm
I got little time. Who do I call? Who am I gonna put on speed dial at the last minute? I got nothing to talk about. And I thought, you know what? I think Don fits the bill.
That is a fascinating concept for me because we hardly know each other. But I think you made an excellent choice. As someone who, how long did I do a podcast for that is not very well known? Maybe 3 years. So actually, I was the quiet one though, and my partner at that time, uh, podcasting partner, was the really talkative one. So I'll just put on his hat. I'll be the talkative one.
Well, the way I figure is you feel like the person that if you sat next to me in high school or college, we would have gotten in trouble for laughing all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you're that person.
Yeah, yeah. Especially, I made this mini cocktail just for you and your people. See, because my podcast was one about drinking, and
Okay.
yeah, so I made a little mini Manhattan.
A mini
Uh,
Manhattan. So what's a mini
yeah.
Manhattan?
Oh man, it's got like vermouth, Woodford bourbon, and then some bitters and some cherries and a little cherry juice. And this has a special, like maybe 4 to 5 drops of THC extract.
The, as I guess it makes me think of there was a gal we went to visit this couple. They're a little bit older than us, and then she served iced tea,
Hmm.
and we drank it. It was exceptionally strong. And are you familiar? Was it with remember Nestea, the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
dehydrated? Her last
Yeah.
name was Cordy, and she had what they called the Cordy Extra.
All right.
She just put extra dehydrated nasty tea. So
Oh
we got
yeah,
the
I do.
Stroud Extra.
Yeah.
So the 5 drops of just to whatever's the Stroud Extra.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, I do live in a recreational state, so
Ah,
yeah.
so I guess the question is, have you thought about just like so is there ice in a Manhattan?
I do like a little ice cube in it. Yeah, it's a tiny glass. So there's only one ice cube in it.
Hmm. What about what would happen if you put THC in ice cubes?
Just like I don't know. It would just be really cold. Actually, this extract is a little weird. It's like alcohol, and then just THC, CBD, uh, extracted from the flowers. So it would just you don't want to have a lot. If you want me to talk for the next hour, you don't want me to have a lot.
Okay. So 5 drops is the max.
Who even knows at this point? This is a new batch.
Freshly squeezed.
Maybe
Like orange juice, freshly squeezed.
just like orange juice. Have you ever watched Workaholics?
No.
Oh, it's a ridiculous show about these three really horrible baby boys who just abuse alcohol and drugs and do like they're telemarketers, so they're horrible people. And maybe I'm been watching that too much.
Oh, so you're starting to like through osmosis kind of gain some of those bad tendencies? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not going to be a horrible person. I'm still,
No.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, that's good. You've got the resolve to not let media influence you to that
right.
degree.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of being influenced by media, uh, do you ever talk about what you're enjoying on the show? I don't listen to any podcasts.
Oh,
Uh,
I don't, but we can do that.
oh, all right. Well, I'm sure you're watching the usual stuff that everyone's talking about right now. What like Mandalorian and
No,
you know,
for I haven't watched it yet.
mm,
It didn't trip my. I'll probably watch it eventually. It didn't really trip my trigger enough to to go that direction. I'm watching
Mm-hmm.
Chloe. I'm watching 2 shows actually.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe, which is a German Netflix show,
Okay.
and have you heard of it?
No, I haven't heard of it.
So the premise is Cold War,
Mm-hmm.
East German woman assassin
Mm-hmm.
kills the mark, crosses back over. Something happens, and then they decide to. And then their communist people burn her and they send her to prison.
Mm-hmm.
The wall falls, communism dies. She gets let out a few years later after terrible things happen. And she's trying to figure out who burned her and why. And it is actually a really good, it's kind of a little bit actiony. It's a little bit of emotion, a fair amount of humor, and it's really good.
Nice. No, I've not even heard of that, but it sounds interesting. I may check that out. We'll see.
It's a little quirky. And the other one is Kunk of Earth.
Mm-hmm. I have seen like trailers and I've heard that's really funny.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw part of the like the clip of the Pompeii episode where she was like, if anything can tell us, or like what we can learn from them is people used to be ashy or something. I was like, wow, that seems really stupid.
It is very funny because it is treated like very serious. I mean, it's like they have somebody across that's, they make it look like she's interviewing a professor, and they'll be in chairs in a big room, and then she'll ask them these questions. She'll say, well, how do airplanes work? And the guy will start explaining. She's like, no, not in scientific ways. I just want you to tell me how it works.
Nice.
So what have you watched that you're enjoying? Are you currently watching that you're enjoying?
The typical hotness. I guess I'm enjoying some Last of Us.
So
that's also got Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he's
I'm
in
watching
everything.
2. Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's a hard watch, but it's enjoyable.
I watched the first episode, enjoyed the second episode, was going to watch the second episode, but my son wrote about how emotional the third one was, and I just thought, oh, no, not going to do that.
Yeah, like if you have any emotion at all, like I dare you to not be like crawled up on the floor, fetal position, bawling your eyes out. Like if you experienced any love or loss in your life, just go in and with a box of tissues.
There's my wife digs these Korean dramas. I don't know if you've watched any of those K-dramas. And one was called, they're amazing. They're very interesting in what they will do things on TV that nobody else will do. And they vary in what they are, but there was one was called Hi Mama, Bye Mama. Seems innocent enough. A woman dies, gets a chance to go back to Earth as a spirit or and relive. And but wow, what an emotional, gut wrenching, ugly crying stuff that goes on that show. And it's a similar type thing where you have the ghosts who are still around, some of them viewing their family. They have emotional things going on, emotional attachments to their family. People who've lost these loved ones with their attachments to their lost, loved one. I mean, it is just,
like it's probably nothing if you're like 20, 25 when you've had a normal life and you haven't I'm getting to that point where everyone you love is just getting sucked out of the airplane and you're kind of strapped in watching it happen. This is how life is.
So I lost at my mother's funeral, when my brother said to me, he goes, I thought I'd live to be 100 and I'd take everyone with me.
Yeah, that's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah, you just figure I'll live to a certain age and I die, but then you're like, now you look around, you're at the table, the family, like your brothers, and you're like, with me, with my brothers-in-law, it's like, either they will be burying me or I'll be burying them. I mean, it's like,
yeah. And like, who's, are you going to be like a pallbearer? Like life just sucks, I guess.
Well, I think that's the part we didn't sign up for. We accepted we're going to get old. We accepted we're going to get, low crotchety.
Mm-hmm.
But
Like
then
the fun
everybody,
stuff.
yeah, but everybody we love dying.
Yeah.
One at a time. It's like.
Mm-hmm. To bring this back around to role-playing games, it's not as easy as it is when you lose a character, right?
If only.
Hey, I'm gonna roll up a new mom. Boy, this episode is already horrible.
Yeah.
What kind of show do you run?
I'm starting to coming to an existential crisis at this moment.
So you just finished up a Kickstarter.
Yes, I did.
Yes. How was how do you like running? Have you done a Kickstarter show before?
What do you mean?
Like how much it sucks or how great it is,
yeah,
or hints and tips.
I'm crying or somebody's crying.
This is the crying episode.
Yeah, it looks luxurious. Occasionally I remind people when you see like an $8,000 Kickstarter or $20,000 Kickstarter, whatever you're seeing, it's never that in fact, there's a guy I saw had a $50,000 Kickstarter and I was like, it succeeded. I'm like, I approached it like I do the math. Like, I don't say you made any money. And he's like, well, I'm just paying for a print run and let's go physical product into stores. I'm not really caring about, this was just to get the print run. He was actually looking at bigger distribution. He's the one that did, you familiar with the comic Chew?
No.
Okay, it's pretty amazing. They're going to supposedly come out with a TV series. So the guy has this ability. So imagine an alternate world. The avian flu goes crazy and kills like a large part of the population. And then the FDA has super policing abilities, and they become like bigger than the CIA. And so they're policing people not eating chicken.
Oh yeah, probably not like being able to raise them and.
Yeah, and so this guy, his last name is he's Chinese. Last name is Chu, but he's got this ability that whatever he eats, he experiences its last moments. And so you can imagine as a detective what that can lead to.
Yeah. Wasn't that kind of like iZombie? Didn't she like
eat the brains and did that same thing? Yeah. It's similar to that. And then also there's multiple people and they all have food-based powers.
Oh, really? Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So it's a popular comic. And so that's where he was going with that. So he actually, so him, I was kind of wondering, like, even with it. So when you start thinking about it, it's like, you look at the art that he had and it's an IP, you start doing all the math. It's just like multiple writers. I mean, a lot of things you look at it just was just like, that money goes quick.
Yeah. I'm already, I'm experiencing that myself. Just purchasing the swag that was a stretch goal for Ruination Pilgrimage, a medieval horror role-playing game. And it was like, I don't know if it's like $5,000 stretch goal, and like between patches and stickers I've already spent $3,000, and I'm like, I still have to do bookmarks, but those are really cheap, I guess. I've been looking around.
I guess depends how you do them.
This is I think organized people do these things before, and they kind of have things priced out a little bit better, but I like to fly by the seat of my pants.
Well, I do too, but I don't go for stretch goals though. So I think
that's smart. I don't like, they don't usually turn me on. They usually just get me into trouble. Like when I'm like, oh, come on, you guys gotta back this for this, really special, cool thing. Like I don't usually back anything for the stretch goals. I kind of do hate adding stretch goals myself. But then you feel like, people get excited about you hitting that point and they're posting about it a little bit, one or two people. So, you kind of have to, I always feel like I have to feed into the hype. Maybe I don't.
Well, Zach Goins, who helps me with the Kickstarter and the backer kit end of things. I've not really done this, but what he says is you really want to take people on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that's where I think those, it doesn't have to be necessarily, the add-on, not the add-ons, but the stretch goals, but it does kind of feel like things are progressing and things are happening and things are moving and people are part of that world, which I think
as
is
far
great.
as like post campaign, that's really good for like a monthly update. Like, hey, look at these stickers I got. And I think it is cool to give your backers a little extra because, I guess people who backed this are at certain levels, they're going to get stickers and patch for free, whereas other people who didn't back it, they're going to have to buy them. So stretch goals.
What's interesting with Trevor Stamper, what he does is he says he'll like offer a, let's say, patch.
Mm-hmm.
He says he'll do it for like the first like day or two.
Right, to get that initial crush.
But then everybody can buy it afterwards.
Yeah. That would have been smart, but I think I just said anyone who backs at like the physical level is gonna get. I don't know what I said. I'll have to go check that.
Pass Donn.
Mm-hmm.
Was he like, a wise man or not? I don't know.
Not usually. It's like you never know how slow 30 days can crawl by until you're running a campaign. And you maybe check it too many times, and you have a lovely wife who's excited and texting you the numbers, and it's like, you're like, yeah, but then it just seems to last for a year, and then when it's over, you're just empty.
Yeah, and that's what's it, and I think I also mentioned this podcast, I think it was last time, but I had Chris Koger texted me like, congratulations when it ended,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't really, I'm happy it's over, but there's no like woohoo, but I think it's just because I'm in the midst of everything as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fulfilling on an old Kickstarter. I'm
yes.
second guessing decisions made on the current Kickstarter I just done. And then, thinking about the third one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fan of the Fly God. I received that. It looks lovely.
Oh, yeah. It was, I just told the hardcovers what's next. So those are.
Oh, yeah. I would love to bust into the hardcover world, and it's a goal a couple years down the line. But I have this weird feeling that no one really is going to want to spend that much money on something I used to think so. Say. Yeah.
But I ditto. I was not going to do it. In fact, Fane of the Fly God was going to be comic book size, trade paperback. That was it. Mm-hmm. And then Zach says, have you considered hardcover? And first I was like, no, this is the vision. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to be paying $45 for a hardback.
Right.
But don't tell people, they'll pay $45 for a hardback. So there's no.
I won't. I'll tell you that much.
Well, that's just it. That's kind of interesting, because he was, I think, believing. So we're getting the details here. So he was thinking, just offering a hardcover. Mm-hmm. So you think about, like, from a business point of view, like, if I didn't offer soft covers, there would be a lot of people that didn't take the soft covers. Mm-hmm. But with the people that would have upgraded, been, like, as far as profit wise, more people shifted over to make it a bit worthwhile. But I'm really more worried about, I'd rather have more people get the book at this point in the game.
Yeah. So offer all the options. That's interesting. So my friend Sean McCoy of Tuesday Night Games, he has this newsletter thing. We did this giant interview, like going back and forth, and he had some really great Kickstarter advice at the end of that. I suggest everyone look it up. If I could only remember the name of the newsletter, it's like a what is it? It's like one of it'll mail the newsletter to you, but then also go up on a blog, right? all the cool kids are doing it. I have one to stack or
Substack.
Substack. Yes, Substack. So anyway, one of his uh, bullet points was people are going to land in the middle, like, because they don't, they don't want the cheapest option, they don't want the most expensive option, because they're like, oh, I'm not that bougie, right? I'm not that cool, so they're going to land in the middle. So maybe it is good to have a hardback option.
And
To have
most
like,
people wound up with, I think, doing the hardback. I had more people with
really?
hardback. Yeah.
Well, maybe you write better stuff than I do.
I don't think so. In fact, when you said, would you say no commit, you're no longer accepting writing jobs? It's like, huh, it's too bad.
Well, I say these things and then I'm always like, I do a lot for people that I like or admire or respect, or like, and I usually do it for peanuts too. I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Oh, and then I'm always like, oh my God, someone sent me an email and they want me to write something. Like, it makes me feel good.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we said that, I was like, ah.
But I'll probably say no because I'm so famous right now. No, just kidding.
Well, yeah. It's like, in fact, what you should say is you just need to do enough writing to get a credit in the book. That's all you really care about.
I do love credits in books. I mean, that's like the first page. I'm sure most people will breeze over the credits. If I get like an RPG book, I'll read the credits, even if I know I'm not going to be in there. And if I know no one in there, I'll still be like, I wonder who's in here. And, a lot of the times I'll see, I'll see friends in there. I'm like, oh yeah, Jarrett Crater, he does a lot of editing. And he's part of Moonrat along with Fiona Geist, and I'm not sure who else right now. But yeah, I just love seeing friends' names in there.
Yeah, it is kind of neat. It's kind of neat, especially as things start to expand. But yeah, so it's just definitely so. But the thing is, for me, my key strategy, which could change at any time, is I'm leaning heavily on Lulu because I can ship easily to other countries.
For inexpensive-ish.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into that option, but I did end up putting in Ruination Pilgrimage. I put like a week and a half in, I ended up setting up like a drive-through POD option because that has worked in the past for me, and they do a fine product. And I'm assuming they won't cost quite as much internationally when they print off in the UK there.
Yeah, the problem is and maybe it's because I'm getting old, the brain's becoming calcified. But I try and always do I try to do the best I can do for printing right now. My best I can do. What I do is do mix them.
Yeah, ditto.
So Lulu's not as good as mix them. But if I do Lulu, I like doing Lulu for a number of reasons. I think it's I guess it depends what I'm doing. It's in general, it's easier to use than drive-through for me for uploading.
Oh, is it? Yeah, because drive-through can be a pain. Like, I actually had, not to interrupt, but I just did. I had a title that I don't know what they updated, but suddenly it just wasn't in compliance, and they were very helpful, but it was like 5 months of like, and then I forgot I'd be dealing with it, and then the service person would come out like, hey, do you need any help with this? You haven't done anything yet. I'm like, oh man. And it was just like simple-ish stuff, but the main problem was I had my old motherboard fried, so I had files in weird spots and I couldn't find half the stuff, and then I couldn't use my Photoshop anymore. it was a great chance for me to get into the Affinity suite. I'd already been using
Yeah.
the one for layout, but I got photo and publisher and then design too, while they were on sale. So that was a bonus, and I finally did get my book sorted out. So yeah, now that you say Lulu's a lot easier, I'm a little tempted to check it out.
And I will say, I think drive through, they probably have the best customer service of all three.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is just harder to deal with, and it's more finicky. So
Mm-hmm.
and what's hard is like if you start dealing with all three of them, they all do things differently, and it
Yeah.
starts becoming hard. And then if you switch over, so like Mix'em, it's very easy to do a zine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then when you switch to Perfect Bound, it changes a little bit because you have to have your cover
Extra
separate.
inner margin. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the cover. But I found that way easier than using the template that drive-through wants you to use for their light source or lighting source. Like that template drove me nuts. Um, I've had good luck with Mixam so far, and I know people have not had good luck and have complained about the customer service. I've never really had to utilize customer service, but yeah, I had my hand held throughout the whole drive-through thing, and they were very helpful.
I
It
think
was
they
great.
hired more customer service at Mix'em. So what I found
Okay.
is when I get ready to order, or before I do that, if you go to the Mix'em website, you can click the button, say chat with us.
Yeah.
But when you get further down, when you're in the process, there's no chat with us. But if you go open another browser and say, I need help,
Mm-hmm.
and the hardcovers got weird. The way they is so it is so the hardcovers, there's actually three for Mix'em. There's three pieces.
Mm-hmm.
There's your front, your back, and your spine.
Yeah.
Those are three
Yeah.
separate pieces that you have to have.
Yeah. Yeah. For the soft cover Perfect Bound too.
And so then
Yeah.
so I did comic book size, but the
Mm-hmm.
hardback's even bigger. But the cover, they didn't ask for a bigger size, but the way they handle it is by doing a 0.8
Mm-hmm.
bleed,
Mm-hmm.
0.8 bleed. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, no, the book is actually a 1/4 inch bigger, and then
Mm-hmm.
your bleed is a little bit beyond that, but it did it really wonky. So the first one came out weird, and
Mm-hmm.
they were good about honoring it, but
Oh, good.
hardback is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I've often like considered just doing a very small run of like, 50 of like Lesser Key to the Celestial Legion or Forgotten Rites of the Moldering Dead just to kind of have one for myself and sell a few, but I haven't done it yet.
A proof copy for a one hardback from Mixum was $100.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is what I usually do for my proofs. Even with the like soft cover, it's like what, $30 sometimes for like a big one. Um, but if you get like 3 or 4, it's like only $40, and then you can give some to friends.
Oh yeah.
You
What I do is I use Lulu to do my proofs
know.
because they're cheaper. Then once I get most of that ironed out, then I'll switch over to Mixum
Okay, yeah. So you already have like a pre-proof,
because I
and
usually
if it's
have to make
similar
several
enough, yeah.
corrections. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That sounds good. I'm gonna try Lulu sometime.
Yeah. It's you also, if you have do you have a website?
No, I need to get one. Because it'd just be nice to have a presence on the web other than like a Facebook page.
Because you
Um,
can set up to sell through Lulu. You can set up like a
oh,
web WordPress, and you can set up a thing and click it, and it'll order, and Lulu will fulfill it.
oh, really? That's
Yeah.
nice. I've seen people use like Etsy for that, and I've been tempted because right now it's all like wholesale, through Exalted or Goodman Games. And I would really like for this next book that I'm working on, I'd love to just have a little shop where people can come and buy, because then I can get all the money.
No middleman. So what is the
No
next
middleman.
book you're working on?
Oh, the Ruination Pilgrimage book is
Oh, you're saying when you get to that point first, so you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
now done the writing. I
Yeah,
thought
I
we were getting a
mean,
secret scoop on something even further down or
no,
further
I've
away.
definitely got plans to support this system, and then I've got the 14 authors who are writing short adventures for Ruination Pilgrimage. That was part of the Kickstarter. That'll be fun project management. Um, so I'm a
So
little
what,
behind schedule.
I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you what this might help you out. This is what I
Hmm.
implemented. I have what's called follow-up Fridays.
Hmm.
So I just learned you just every Friday, just text everybody, how's it going, where we at?
Oh, nice.
And you say
Oh,
it's follow-up Friday. And
yeah.
you just do a nice little message, and that usually keeps people going, and it doesn't feel like you're being too intrusive. It's just part of,
Yeah.
I got to do it because it's follow-up Friday. It's just,
Yeah. It's like a rule.
yeah, it's like
Jeff's rules. Yeah. I need to get on it. We have had crazy storms up here in Michigan for the last few weeks, and we lost power for like 4 days once.
so. Storms,
Yeah.
I'm assuming, meaning frozen conditions with snow and ice, or
Yeah, the first one was an ice storm, so it just rained all day, but all the ice landed on the branches, so we had a bunch of branches come down and bring wires down with them in the backyard. And then a week later, just the heaviest snow I've ever seen, and like branches were snapping all over because it was just thick and heavy and coating the branches. We have a house a couple blocks down where a tree fell on the house like just over the weekend, and it's still kind of there.
so how are the people still
Craziness.
living there and just dealing with it, I suppose.
Yeah. There's kind of working on it, but I assume that they can't just push it off because what's it going to do as it rolls off. But yeah, it's been crazy up here in the frozen north.
So do you get many tornadoes that way?
Occasional warnings, because we're still part of the Midwest, so that's just a Midwest thing. I think the last one that was even close to us was maybe 5 years ago, and it was like 20 miles away. So yeah.
Yeah, we moved to a town that the previous city the previous year the tornado hit twice,
Mm.
and then we moved to another town that's like maybe 30 miles to the north, not even that. And when we moved there, I think the year before that a tornado went through there, and
Hmm.
then when we moved to here, within a few years, a tornado went through some neighboring towns.
Oh wow, yeah. That's some crazy nature there.
It is crazy nature.
Very destructive force.
It's crazy also just how like you know how soon things can go from being okay to not okay, and like in a
Yeah,
vast region.
yeah. It's like yeah. As soon as those sirens start, you're like, basement time. And
Yeah,
does it
so
really matter? Like, is it really safe? It seems like maybe a little bit.
oh, the basement.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is. In fact,
Yeah.
it saved a lot of people. But the problem is, like, sometimes people, so a lot of people from other countries live in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy's like, well, I live in a brick apartment building, like
It's
I don't
not
need to go
gonna
to, it's like, no,
help.
that will do nothing for you.
Nope.
That's pretty crazy. So Ruination Pilgrimage. So you're in the throes of writing.
It's mostly written. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. How do I even explain this? Like, yeah, it's so my process is chaos. Like, I'll have notes in my phone, I'll have notes in email because I don't have access to my, email all day. Well, except for my phone. Anyway, it's everything from all over and like
Yeah.
weird little notes like just names and so right now like the bulk of the rules are done, much of the bestiary is done, but kind of adding on to it. a I'm adding some cool drugs because it's like pretty much it's very close to Mothership because that's the engine it runs on. So I'm just kind of like just honing some things, and I'm
Well,
adding lots
well,
of setting.
well, let us just stop because my
Okay.
mind's kind of going a different direction now. So you're
Yeah.
saying you're adding drugs.
Oh yeah, that's just something I happened to be working on the other night. Like
Okay, so you're going to
adding
add drugs to the game. So this makes me think of another thing. We'll go to that in a second. So what are the
Mhm.
drugs? What are the drugs for your game? What do they do?
All right. So in Mothership, you've got like stems that will kind of keep you moving and a couple other things. They're kind of like mechanically helpful drugs, right?
Yeah.
So maybe one that just kind of takes the fog off your brain. So maybe it'll let you roll advantage on a certain roll. So it's not like, oh man, this is going to get you so messed up. It's like, hey, this is something you can take. Like one is red seed powder. It's just going to kind of give you a little boost. Uh, so it's all a little bit of flavor, mostly mechanics. Because who cares if you can do cocaine in your game, right? Like, what is that going to do for you? Well, maybe that's not a good example because you can kind of get revved up, I guess. Like
Yeah.
heroin, it's just going to put you out of
Yeah.
commission, right? That's not a useful drug.
But here's what I was thinking, and this is
Yeah.
where all of a sudden this collision of ideas. So you've seen a red Dune.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So a drug is responsible for folding space,
Oh yeah.
for
Yeah.
human computers,
Mm-hmm.
uh, prophetic visions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought, well, what if you could use drugs in a way that warp reality or do certain things, but then would have other weird effects. I wonder what a game like
Yeah.
that would look like.
That's going to be a little bit in here because so a lot of the game is there's not really any magic, but I don't know how much I described last time I was on here, but that's fine. I'm sure people have forgotten anyway. I'm Donn Stroud.
I'm Jeff Jones. Thanks for joining us.
It's my second appearance. Thanks for having me back. And today I'd like to talk about Ruination Pilgrimage again, like last time. All right, so uh, there's no functional like magic, but the priest can summon angels, right? So that's a horrible thing. Every time you see angels in the Bible,
Yeah,
what do they
yeah,
say? They're like, "Be not afraid," because they're horrible, right? I mean, they're
yeah.
awesome. They're the shining glory of God, right? So some of that is happening when you summon an angel. The couple sessions ago we had somebody in my group, the priest. He summoned an angel of wrath. Um, Everybody had to make a fear check, and so one of them failed critically. Uh, anytime you roll above your stat or save and it's doubles, it's a critical failure. If it's under your stat or save and it's doubles, then it's like a critical success, right? But so somebody in the middle of this fight where they summon an angel to beat this demon, it's a goat-headed demon. Its body's made up of a bunch of like human torsos and arms, so it's like a centipede. Um, right. So then in the middle of this fight, one of the players just drops to the ground, fetal position, unresponsive. So what is my point? It was a great session. Somebody broke their back. It was comically horrible and awesome. But so a lot of it is summoning angels. So yeah, there might be a drug that can kind of maybe take the edge off of that. Like
Okay, so this is gonna be really
yeah.
bad. You're gonna need the heroin to make this so you don't come out of the psychically scarred.
Yeah. You might need that, but there is a large, not a large part of the game, but there's a part of the game where you do have prophetic dreams and even just like weird dreams of temptation, where demons are kind of trying to, make you do things that you do or don't want to do. So yeah, there will most likely be a drug that kind of helps you in your prophetic dreaming to figure out where you want to go.
So I was reading a book about the Clash,
Oh yeah.
and so so the drummer had a problem with heroin.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember which band member said if it was a sax player, it'd probably been okay.
Yeah.
But
I
you
mean,
can't
that's
put
kind
on
of what
heroin.
propels them to greatness. Unfortunately, like you can kind of always tell when a musician has or is currently doing heroin because they're a little bit outside that box in a brilliant way. Um, yeah, like Coltrane, Miles,
Yeah.
countless jazz men. Even like an older Modest Mouse album, like you can kind of like, there's just a rawness to it that was like brilliantly, oh, Manhattan, brilliantly creative. It's just like raw creation from like the ether. I'm not advocating heroin use.
Unless you're
Lost.
playing jazz, but that's
Yeah, but even then, like, there's got to be a better way, right? Maybe just smoking opium. Uh, because I've lost a lot of, I've lost a handful of friends and acquaintances to heroin. So
really.
don't do
I've
don't do
never
heroin.
been in circles or seen, I mean, thankfully, but I'm pretty much a Midwest small town
Mm,
farm community.
yeah, that's kind of where I grew up. But then I came down to the big city, which isn't really that big of a city, but um, rolling with the crusty punks and uh, that kind of rawer side of life, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I could see why people do things to take the edge off, but I'd always be my fear that, which is, things like that, I'd just be afraid of not being able to stop.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even quit coffee. Why would I want to
Yes.
push it harder than that?
Yeah, so it's like, it'd be kind of interesting to, if you could work out where, maybe you in a game where you take drugs to do certain things, but it creates other problems, but then you take other drugs to counteract those problems. And if you could
Mm-hmm.
work a character out to a point where if they start making decisions, they could really put themselves in a bad position. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've gone too far.
Yeah, like drug dominoes.
Yeah. And well,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the Dr. Seuss with the pink smudge, the Cat in the Hat. Who's got
Oh
this?
yeah, the ring and it just spreads and gets yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
That would be ideal. Would be if you get even get characters where they just take a small problem and they turn a
Mm-hmm.
small problem into the whole neighborhood is now messed up.
Yeah, I mean that's usually the best way, right? When you're running a game, like it's just pretend. So why not go
Yeah.
crazy?
And also it's kind of interesting the idea of summoning, because I think that was also a big I'm trying to think. I never played a lot of Elric, but I think that was part of Elric,
Mm.
wasn't it?
Yeah. You actually had to like. I can't speak about most games because I have a very small uh, number of games I've actually played. But like Stormbringer was really cool because you didn't just like. Yeah, you could like summon. You could summon things and then bind them to your arms or weapon. Your armor. So you could like you could summon and bind like wind spirits and they'd maybe make you walk faster or fly you somewhere, I guess. So there's going to be a little bit of that
Oh my goodness.
in a future release. You want a little tidbit?
Sure.
Yes, I'm working on something where, man, I can't even say this because then I'm going to release the rules and it's going to take so long for me to write the next thing and some third party person's going to scoop it and then yeah. No, I just think I totally want to mimic that kind of like Stormbringer esque. Like, hey, instead of summoning angels, I want to maybe use demons and bind them. Like, I'm binding them for good, or maybe not so good.
You mean as far as good, as far as purpose?
Right. Yeah. This, my sword now has the knuckle bone of Saint Benjir, but it also has the wretched spirit of Kelkunara. I just made that up.
Well, it kind of also, makes me think of, in some ways, too, like with Quorum, he's able to kill things, and whatever he killed the last time he could summon.
Oh yeah.
There's probably a lot of like, it's kind of interesting. Like maybe you're killing certain things to bind a certain essence in them.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be an interesting game but then you get to a certain point where the more powerful it gets, kind of like Stormbringer, then all of a sudden it's actually probably more control than what you think it is.
Yeah. Like I don't want to give anything out for free. Like if you are going to be like, binding things, like you're going to have to wrestle to control those things every single time. Like heroin addiction.
Well, it'd be interesting then. So let's say a person would spiral out of control with the summoning, then would all of a sudden, like, would their character, it could be interesting, like all of a sudden now their character is now the bad guy.
Right. Yeah. Give me your sheet, roll up a new character, and this is the new villain. It's kind of you, used to be you. It'd be even fun to like have moments of clarity where like, hey, here's your character back, and then like 25 minutes later, like, actually no.
Yes. And maybe certain moments of highlights, like you may have a small percentage chance of reaching, like maybe you could do certain things to, like it's kind of a certain trope to try and reach that person that's still inside.
Yeah. Like, I know you're still in there, Davey. Classic. It's going in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun tropes like that. It would be fun to build. I guess we'd find the right game to do that. But it sounds like you got, especially with what the setting that you put this in, really doesn't, like say, it doesn't seem to align with the Elric and a lot of the sort of stuff that we're talking about. Like you're not really stuck with just one thing. You can, do a lot of adjustments in different areas.
Yeah, and just kind of, it's like, it's I'm in like a weird place where like the canvas is like there's only part of it painted, and I have a whole, like I can go anywhere with this. Like it's kind of exciting and exhilarating, but some people don't like it, I guess.
I think what's hard is I've had some thoughts with ideas, and then in ways that it could, expand out. I think for myself, I at that point I would try and get other people in to expand it out. I don't know that I'm good at expanding things out fully.
Well, because you're going to do it in the way you would do it. And anytime you invite collaborators, like I swear I've said this before, I much prefer more. That's not even hardly grammar. I like to meet with people and see what they can do with what I've done, or see what they're going to add, their own little flourish, because I'm going to do things pretty much the same way every time. That's just my style. Like with the Isle of the Plangent Mage, it was all me, and then some suggestions, and Dead Planet was a bunch of people just like laying ideas out. And I like collaborating more than just being the head of the show.
Yeah, because I think it's the combinations that are often more interesting.
Yeah. Other voices in the chorus.
Yeah, it's that synthesis, and I think even with genres, that's where things can become interesting. I mean, just a straight westerns at a point can become boring, but then you mix a western with horror, or a western with whatever. It starts, like, it puts a different edge, even though you can still kind of have the tropes. It's still, I think ideas are that way too. It's just right. You can follow along a certain. So like there's one fellow, Luau Lu. I just had talks with him. It's like he definitely thinks along a different line, and he's very verbose, and he thinks a lot of, I don't want to say crazy thoughts, but he's got an imagination that goes a different direction than mine.
Yeah.
But it's like I could see where I could say, hey, can you look over this manuscript and just think of other things? And that, because I can't think of, but he can think of, that would still fit within the, the scope that I'm trying to do. Because it's like I can see where it needs more. I can provide a certain amount of structure, but there's a certain amount of, I don't want to say zaniness, that's not really the right word, but I think some of the stuff I do maybe is too logical, and sometimes it needs to be a little more fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like I've had that same problem. Whereas I'm like, well, this is the way ecology works, and because I have a strong like background in biology and ecology and like evolution, I'm like, this is the way it would happen, so this is how it's got to be. And but then like I've gotten better at, but what if? That's nice. Always a nice building block, but what if?
Well, and really, that's kind of really what science fiction is. It's like everything is true except for usually a couple things.
Right. Yeah. Everything is the way you know it, but in this world,
we can travel faster than light.
Right. Yeah. Which changes a lot of things. Yeah. Yeah.
So ecology, biology, and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, that's all fun stuff.
So you thought about doing something with all that?
I kind of do. Like a lot of my stuff kind of is based on things, and then I push it out farther. I think I said in an interview once, like for Dead Planet, there are like these giant worms, and then there are the parasitically affected gaunts, and they kind of had this whole like, I didn't write this down, but in my brain they're like, hey, this is an aquatic humanoid, so it's going to look a certain way, but then this parasite from the dead universe embeds itself and it does this to it, so it's going to look this way. So yeah, I have a lot of like, there's this that makes sense, and then there's this extra thing which also makes sense. It doesn't quite work like this, but yeah.
It's but so like Trevor Stamper, he has a strong background in like the sciences, and he's kind of worked on some stuff that's been I believe it's like an herbology as well. He's been kind of developing. And when I first talked about Fan of the Fly God, he locked into fly because he also he breeds certain species of flies for sale.
Oh, really?
Profit, yes.
Nice, yeah.
And so he goes into science mode, and then he's talking about another project he's wanting to do that involves, I'm not going to divulge it, but he's trying to think of, there's this kind of fantastic thing, but he's applying like scientific theory to this.
Nice.
And then trying to do that. I mean, have you thought about doing either something along those lines with it?
No, I think I just kind of view it as like a launching point. Like, okay. I don't want to get, although I have done several things on mushrooms. Well, I shouldn't say several. I did. So I was really into mushrooms for a while, like growing them. I still am. And, reading about how they work, and mushrooms are so crazy. Like, you know what a mushroom is? It's like if you took is this a PG show?
It's you do whatever you want.
So if I went up to you, I said, hey, I like you, I want more of you, I'm gonna cut the slice off of your penis, and then I'm going to put it in a petri dish, and then that's going to grow tissue.
Oh, right.
And because like all the mushroom it's like the fruiting body. It's
right.
What they make to do spores.
Right.
Like most of the mushroom is the mycelium, the threads.
And there's a reason why it's shaped the way it is.
Yeah.
It's pushing through leaves and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but so you can either use the spores and you can grow them, but then you have like problems with outside infections. If you just like do a tissue culture from the actual mushroom, you can make it grow mycelium from that tissue culture. Like you can take any part of the mushroom, the fruiting body, and just make it make more mycelium. And then you can take that mycelium and put it in a blender, and then you can mix it with like a liquid, and then you can, put it in sterilized grain. It'll grow more mycelium. And you can take that grain, put it in 10 more jars, and then you've got 10 jars of mycelium. You can take those 10 jars, put them in 10 more. If you're clean enough, you can keep on doing this for till you have 1,000 jars just from this one little piece of flesh. It's crazy.
It is, and I think the connectivity, it's like, you're right, because we think of, when we see the mushroom, it's just that fruiting body is the mushroom, but it's actually, it's not just that.
It's just the sexual organ that's going to create, hold, and release the spores. And then there's all these weird things like, they know what to do based upon, mycelium like CO2. All of a sudden there's some oxygen. Like, hey, we're gonna make some fruiting bodies here because there's oxygen, and that means maybe the branch of the tree has been knocked off and we can actually fruit here. We can't push our way through the bark, but there's a hole now. And then when they, start doing that, really you are going to want to be able to spread your spores as perfectly as possible. So they actually know to grow upright towards the light.
Yeah, it's really weird. Even going back to those, I guess going back to The Last of Us and the idea of those zombie parasites.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does it know?
Because we use these words like it just knows, but really it's a program.
Yeah, I know, but how does that program get written to not only just say, I'm seeking light, but I'm hijacking the nervous system of a creature?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like some of the actual cordyceps, okay, this ant, I'm going to climb to the highest point and I'm going to sit here until their fruiting bodies erupt. This is my problem with Last of Us is they have these really cool, mushrooms coming out of their head, but it's never oh, this is where the spores are and they're going to, if you breathe it in, you're going to get this, because then everything and everybody would just be gone in 2 weeks. Right. So it's the bite has to transmit the mycelium.
Well, that doesn't make sense. I stopped watching it, but the very first episode, it was going going through the whole world. It's within days. And then also they're living in this colony, and you're everything's okay as long as we don't bring anybody inside. I don't understand this.
Right. But then, deep down inside, people are there who maybe have, gotten it and died there, because they come across that one against the wall.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I really love, and I don't see enough of in there. But it kind of reminds me of a scene from Annihilation. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when the dude is kind of grown into the wall and 20 feet tall, and organs kind of spread out, and fungus and fruiting bodies on that. I love stuff like that.
Have you to take it back to the dark side in the beginning? Have you read about what that movie is a kind of analogy to?
No. I haven't read the books or anything.
Yeah, cancer.
Oh, it's true, because it's not like you have some invading pathogen. It's your cells are hey, we're gonna do this now.
Yeah.
And every part of the body, it's different, which is why there's no cure, because your cells are just hey, give us some sugar and we're gonna do this.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's just very strange. It's kind of interesting, strange, kind of even thinking about it. I need to watch it again in that, I watched it, read about that, and I need to watch it again. That was amazing. Yeah. That was really an amazing movie.
Yeah, it's really good. I hear the books are great too, and the movie actually spans 2 of the books. I love that crazy trippy ending where it's all super psychedelic, kind of it always kind of reminds me of, what's that movie? I always tell my wife, we got to watch this, some old Jeff Bridges movie, and I always forget the name of it.
Alter States.
Yes. I watched that when I was really young, and it blew my mind, and I always reference it. I should probably watch it again. I was exposed to weird things at an early age. That's why I'm the way I am.
Yeah, I read the book at I don't know how old I would have been at the time. I guess it'd been early high school and watched the movie.
Mm-hmm. I was just telling my friend Sean, speaking of reading books at young ages that we shouldn't have, Last Man on Earth, I probably read that in like 4th grade, and I couldn't sleep for like days.
For me, it was the Amityville Horror. Did me
Oh,
in.
yeah.
I was like in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Just, I think the movie was schlock. Probably the book is too, but the idea that they actually had the child's drawings of this demonic pig, like it was like a 9-year-old drawing this, it just made it even more real.
Yeah.
So there was like 3 years of just terrible nightmares.
Yeah. What was the scene that stuck with me is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the second one with
Kiefer
like
Sutherland.
Oh no, Donald. Yeah, that part. But when like the bulldog looks up and it's got a human face, like that haunted me.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
It's terrifying.
Is that you say the second one? Was that the one from the 70s
like the
or
remake?
The one from, it's in the 80s?
It was maybe late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, it had Donald Sutherland in it.
Oh yeah. Donald's not Kiefer. I need to watch that again. Yeah, I don't remember that.
Oh man, and I would have dreams about finding puppies underneath the basement stairs, and when I go touch them, and they'd look up and they'd have little baby human faces. For years, I had nightmares about that.
That is horrifying. I mean, I think with CGI and the way things are at, I mean, I think that would be a truly horrifying thing to put in a movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever see The Lobster?
No, I don't think I have.
So I do recommend it. It's the premise is the law is if you don't get married by a certain age, you go to this like chateau, and then you have so much time to find somebody to get married. And if you don't, then you pick an animal and they just turn you into that animal.
Oh, really?
And he picked the lobster.
Oh, wow. Odd choice.
It's an odd movie.
Sounds like a cool premise, though.
Yeah, it really, I think what it does is just force to look at like how we view single people in marriage. It's like the idea is if you don't marry, then you're just a crazy person.
Especially back, throughout history, like you had a bunch of kids to work on the farm, and then you had a bunch of kids because the economy was booming after World War II, and now you have kids and they're just depressed because the world is not awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got that one right.
It's just not like it used to be.
No, it is definitely a strange. I don't really know what to think about it. As a friend of mine would say, his dad used to tell him, when his dad reached a certain age, dad told him, he said, the world just done left me. And then he told me, he's older than me, and he's like, yeah, I'm reached that age that the world done left me. And I think I'm approaching the point where I just don't understand anything I'm seeing. It's like...
Yeah.
So the mushrooms, I put that into it's interesting. I put that into a post-apocalyptic project I have been working on for well over a year. The idea was I never played The Last of Us. I had an idea for part of it to come from that video game, because I remember the imagery.
Yeah.
And so I have most of it written. That's part of it, just a little piece of the whole thing. And I just now realize that it looks like I'm just playing off of the hit series.
Oh, yeah. I had apparently I've had that happen to me where I didn't even realize it until much later, where someone was like saying, "Oh yeah, Dead Planet is just like this video game in this franchise," and I had no exposure to it at all. So I'm just like, "Oh, that's embarrassing," but it happens to everybody. I heard there was something about like, remember 28 Days Later and Walking Dead both kind of start the same way, whereas the main protagonist wakes up and you kind of don't know what happened until he starts walking around and sees the state of the world. And both of those people did not know the other one was doing it. So it just kind of happens, you know. Ideas are a dime a dozen.
Oh, they are. But I've not seen 28 Days Later.
You should.
How's that compared to Walking? So I watched Walking Dead for about 4 seasons, and
Then
I
it
tapped
got
out.
yeah. I'm there with you. So 28 Days Later it was good. People often call it a zombie film. I'm saying they're dead wrong because it's actually this rage virus from like a chimpanzee. It travels through blood and bites and saliva, so that actually makes people just run like crazy and just violently beat anything up, except for each other. I guess they can sense the rage virus. I don't know. I don't think it was ever explained. So it's a great film. It's I don't know, it's just got like a vibe, but it's really cool. Like the middle part, you know how like in most zombie films, it's like it's not really the zombies, it's the other people. And this one kind of had more of a you have to become a monster to beat the monster, and the monster is of course other humans, not necessarily this virus,
Right.
but yeah, it's a good film. If you have kids, I would stay away from the sequel, which was like 28 weeks later. It's very hard to watch.
28 weeks later.
Yeah.
Okay. The so I think The Walking Dead started out good. I think I think my biggest problem was the people that were sympathetic, like Rick, turned to be very. I don't know why anybody would be rooting for him towards the end. It's just like he's really not a good person anymore. It's not like
Yeah. Because I guess it changes you to see that.
Have you seen which I thought was kind of interesting. Have you seen there's a series out on Netflix? Go back to the beginning when you asked what I was watching. Have you seen The Recruit?
No, but I've seen the advertisement for it. Like it's like a dude fresh on assignment, right? Kind of like a spy type thing. I don't really know much about it, but I've seen
So
the ad.
so what I would describe it would take. Have you seen Jack Ryan?
No, but I've seen ads for it.
So you know what Jack Ryan kind of is, the Tom Clancy
Yeah,
esque. So imagine
yeah.
taking Tom Clancy novel,
Mm-hmm.
mixing it with Baby Driver. Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen Baby Driver?
No, I've seen trailers for it. It looks fun.
As fun as it looked, it's even better.
Mm,
Oh, oh, oh!
nice.
I would recommend renting it. It's
Yeah, yeah.
worth it. Oh, so my comparison, I was gonna say it's really Jack Ryan, The Office, and Baby Driver all mixed together.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds pretty fun.
But anyway, there is the idea is he starts out very ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
very optimistic, gung ho, and crosses because of his ability to just kind of make the best of situations. It takes him places that further than he really should have gone, and it's like it's kind of like, but as it keeps going, you see him start to wear down. It's like,
Oh yeah, I like that progression when you're just like, yeah, because this would wear you the heck out.
yeah. I will also say I think it's one of the best series I've ever seen.
Hmm.
It just seems to highlight both the drama and the dark comedy,
All right.
and just this kind of quirkiness all together in a way that I don't know how they did it. But
Interesting. That makes me more apt to watch it, maybe.
yeah, so I think the idea of progression, and I think that's what kind of it is nice to see, but I think it's just a point where, it seemed like with Walking Dead, it just went to a point where it's like, I like Breaking Bad's probably another one I'd never want to watch. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
to go that far to see somebody going from, not great to terrible. Yeah, I don't know that I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah. Because people get there in real life, and yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's a person, Malcolm Muggeridge, he talked about evil. He says, like, it's very interesting in fiction, but it's not interesting at all in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all want to root for Darth Vader. I think it's really cool, but in real life, it's really not that nice.
No. No. You got to look at yourself in the mirror.
I have to.
You would at least some would appreciate the man you see looking back at you.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So you got your you finished up on your Kickstarter. You've got some projects running in the background. You've got a whole roster of writers you're going to have to wrangle in. It sounds like you got quite a bit ahead of you.
Yeah. It's gonna be great though. Like I said, it's like Tom Petty sings, "The future's wide open."
It's wide open.
Because I really I'm excited about this world I'm building so far, and I can't wait to see people add to it, like my authors that are coming in to write little adventures and open up like a third-party publisher system and see what they do with it. There's a very, very large continent for playing in.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I wondered about well, I guess here I'm going to do. I'm just really going to do a on the record. I got a belief.
Yeah.
That's so. Several months ago, my daughter said to my wife, told my wife, she goes, "I have your looks, but I have my dad's ADD." And my wife told me that. I said, "I don't have ADD." And then she's like, "Well, Abby said this, 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 and this." And I started looking stuff up. And I think I have, if it is a spectrum thing, I think I do fall within that. And I think almost every single person in the zine community that's a creator at the level that I'm at, I think most of us all have some form of attention deficit issue. It also can be combined with hyper focusing.
Right. Hyper focus until you're on to the next thing without completing the previous thing, right? Yeah.
So do you feel you have, I'm going to start asking guests too. Do you feel that there's a certain component of that? That you deal with?
Oh, definitely. But yeah. I've never really looked it up. I think both of my kids have been diagnosed with some form, and they take some medication, and they're like, "Well, I just can't focus, Dad." I'm like, "No one can focus. That's just the way it is. You got to work at it. You got to spend your whole life making yourself focus."
Yes.
Maybe it's
a discipline problem.
Yeah, it's a discipline. When I was a kid, we had to focus. And that is a thing. I don't think about it too much. You got to use it to your advantage, though. Just never throw anything out. Keep it in your Google Drive. And then, like with this project, I'm actually going back to 2 previous projects and yanking what I want. It's like I'm in a scrapyard. I'm like, "Oh, look at that over there on that pile. Like, that looks good. I'm going to put it right here." And it's all kind of working.
Oh, yeah, I think it does work. I think if you look at there's another guy, I asked him, he's like, I've wondered, several people I've talked to, like, yeah, I think once I realized that I do have problems, I've leaned a little bit heavier on making lists than I have before, and that helps a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the people I've talked to, I used to think ADD, people just lost focus and didn't do anything, but it's not the case. And I'm like, a lot of us are people producing a lot of work. It's just strange that it seems like a lot of us have some form of, attention deficit issues.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah. I mean, have you read that problem where you're like, I'm going to research this real quick before I write about it, and then you're down several other rabbit holes, and the night's over. I just thought it was the creative mind, I'm like, this is my gift. I was born this way, and it's a gift because I can go anywhere and research, and then I can come back and work really heavy, and then not want to deal with anything for weeks, if I'm lucky, weeks.
So I guess the question is, what like drove us all here to be the same? I mean, we're all in the same position, doing the same thing. Like, it's kind of strange. Like, we could be doing other things, but we're all like locked into this.
Yeah, that is strange. It's just the way, you know what my dad would have said?
What?
It's just the way God made us. he was a good preacher, man.
I think because there are so many of us, I can't think that this is actually a disorder. It's just a variation that is probably was good at one time in the past, but for whatever reason, in modern society, it's probably not as good.
I mean, bursts of creativity to solve problems that's kind of what it is, and that would probably be very, very advantageous when we were, walking the savannah as little 4-foot hairy dudes.
Yeah, but maybe if we didn't lose concentration, maybe we wouldn't get to have those problems.
True. What was fascinating that I learned recently, or maybe in the last 20 years? Shit, it's already gone. Something. You know how people always want to see ghosts and stuff, and they see things like, you're looking at a window and you see a face in it, but it's just like pattern making was essential in our evolutionary history, like even before like we were anything resembling modern humans. Like, making patterns out of things is huge, and we're left with this now, and I wouldn't say it's a problem. Like, people aren't getting hurt because they think there are ghosts out there, right? Unless they get scared and run and fall on a metal stake.
Well, I think the thing is, it's even beyond just even like physical recognition. We do look for patterns and make assumptions. It kind of does lead to inductive leaps that are just really wild, that are really based off of just snapshots and ending out. It's kind of way weird. It probably is beneficial to make these wide suppositions based on a little bit of information than say I need to collect a lot of information to make a decision.
Yeah. I mean,
it looks evil, kill it. Okay.
Right. Or, hey, this tree has a bunch of dead monkeys underneath it. Should we eat the fruit or not? Like, you gotta make patterns, and you gotta draw your ideas.
You gotta put that in a game somewhere.
It was essential. Like dead monkeys. Yeah.
I think that almost sounds like there should be a punk band or something.
Yeah. 12 Monkeys. You ever see that movie?
No, I wanted to, but I know, man. I shouldn't. I think the series is supposed to be even better.
Yeah, it was just long. There's so many episodes to it. Sometimes you just want to watch a movie and be done.
Maybe I did watch it. That's not the one with Brad Pitt as
where he's playing that like brilliant role.
Yeah, I remember Brad Pitt being great. I remember Bruce Willis being okay, and I don't remember much of the plot. I just remember Brad Pitt, that little bit he had.
Oh yeah, he was off the charts there. That was Terry Gilliam of Baron Munchausen and Brazil.
I've never seen Brazil. I think it was a little too dark when I was in high school. The Adventures of Baron von Munchausen. Yeah, I enjoyed the beginning. I didn't but I may like it now. As a teenager, I enjoyed the beginning, which was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it was just, I think it's like Time Bandits. I think
Oh yeah.
it's the English, I think they have a more realistic look at the world and even the medieval times than we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I
They
just got
don't they
pessimism.
don't glorify it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lived it, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So anyway, and I also realized when I listened back to my podcasts, my mind jumping around, I realize it's ADD. I keep jumping around trying to find I'm thinking one thing. It's like, nope, approach it a different way. Nope, approach it a different way. That's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't notice.
thank you.
I thought you were was the term non no non neurodivergent. I don't know. But my kids are always accusing me of
What?
you're you're just non neurodivergent thinking.
Non-neuro, you can't understand me.
I was like, what? Yeah, it's probably a thing. Use it to your advantage. But yeah, it
Yeah.
does seem like the scene. I mean, that's like, it's the same like musicians, like, the ones that are truly gifted, they don't have amazing lives and they usually end up dead early by, you know, drugs or self-inflicted whatevers. Uh, yeah, it's like part of the creative process, it's suffering, I guess.
Well, I don't suffer too much, thankfully, but maybe I'm not that creative either.
Yeah, I didn't say it. I'm not the judge or jury nor
Yeah.
executioner.
It's called recycling, Jeff.
I mean, if you can't look at something and get an idea for a RPG idea from it, then you're not living, right?
Yeah, in fact, I'm working with a guy who's editing for the Scoundrels of Brixton, my next one, and I think as I was throwing some stuff, he made some remark about stream of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and I think normally, like what I'll do is I will write a thing and then I'll edit it and 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 edit it.
Yeah.
But when somebody just takes my dump, it really comes across what it really is. I just get in the computer, I empty everything out of my mind, and I just start typing.
Yeah.
How does that work for you? Do you think about something and type, or do you just kind of just go blank and
I
just?
usually go blank. It takes me a long time to usually write. Like, I've gotten better as I've honed. I mean, I've only been doing this for 2019, 2018, 2017. I don't know how long I've been doing this. Barely, 5, 6 years. So I remember like just staring there and like fighting for the sentences to come, and it's not quite so bad now. Um, but I have this weird thing where I can't recognize what I've written as my own. Like,
Wow.
I'm like, that sounds maybe I don't think that sounds like me, and it's in my Google Drive. Like, it's
Oh,
not shared from anyone. Like, I must have written it at some point.
that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's just cool words. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a good idea I can use, and I probably already had the idea. It's like,
Oh, that's even more so, right? Because not only do you not recognize it, you don't remember having written it. So,
right.
so okay. So, if have you read somebody else's work, then later on read it and recognized it as being somebody else's work?
Um, probably only for like authors, like not necessarily game books.
Right.
But I could probably, if I read something by Terry Pratchett, and I was like, I would probably be able to tell Gene Wolfe, yes. Probably Neil Gaiman, yes. There's a handful of people I would know, but I think that's just because I've spent a lot of time reading them. So
But you don't. But it's kind of interesting for your own writing. You don't recognize.
no, not. I mean, yeah, found
But
stuff that
it's kind of good in a way, because you could probably look at your stuff a little more dispassionately.
Right. I have no attachment to it because maybe I didn't even write it.
Maybe you really didn't.
Maybe I could have found this. There's this page on witches and like how to, and I'm just like, I have no memory of this. But it was kind of good. I could have copied it from place and put it. I probably wouldn't have done that though. That seems weird.
Well, that would be kind of scary.
Yeah, I could. You know what? I'm gonna grab a section of it if I can find it again, and just put it in Google and see what pops up.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of wild. I find that, yeah, I don't. The problem is like that when I write, it's like, so I'll put like, like going back to the Fane the Fly God or some of these others. It's like there's some pretty important figures. The spelling, it changes. I mean, all throughout.
Yeah.
Like it just is never a consistency. And it's where it's good to find somebody that actually pays attention.
Yeah. I don't think anyone should ever print anything that has not had at least one pass by a real editor.
I agree.
Because I do the same. Like I've already found in this document that I've been hammering away at, and I started back in October or September, and then I add parts, and then I go back and I change parts. But I've referred to the same ability stats as like many different names, and I'm just kind of trying to tighten that up. Like that's kind of why I probably haven't gotten my rules to the other authors yet, is because it really is a mess. And because I would write in spurts. Like I would come home from work every day when I was really excited about it and get it down. And then I did that for like 3 months, and I'm like, I need a break. So yeah.
Well, the problem is with terms, and I have this an issue, like for instance with physical or with statistics, not statistics, but with like strength, intelligence, con.
Yeah.
Is I played so many different games, and there's so many different, is it agility? Is it dexterity? Is it physique? Is it body? Is it constitution? Is it, whatever? I mean, it's like, and some more put things together, things just split them apart, and the wording becomes, it's just like, there's a point where it's just like coordination, I think, is one system, and then I'd be talking to people, I'd be using the wrong ones, but it's just like, I can't help it.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with this particular, because I mean, I've never written a system before. This was my first one, so I learned a lot, and I don't want to be one of those people that puts out system after system. So I'm just going to write adventures for the system because it seems to be my happy place, and call it good.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because you talked about so you got these people writing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you create rails that they have to like they can't bump against, like the guidelines? Is there like large guidelines? Or
yeah, so that's the other thing I'm kind of trying to do right now, is like I'm kind of trying to take parts of the text and like, this is the quick start, get you up to speed, because I don't want to overwhelm them. They don't need to read like 50 pages of stuff. They only need to know this, and I'm kind of trying to separate it. And I put some rails out there, but I also don't want to chain them. I want to let them go, and then maybe if they go too far, I'll have to pull them up. But
so basically, you want to create enough to keep them somewhat tethered, but open enough that you can develop your setting through their writing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I welcome anyone's addition, of course. Yeah.
And so you say that, so you have these people that were part of the stretch goal. How many authors did you say there was?
I think there were 14.
That's quite a few. That is quite a few.
When you just want to include all your friends, and then people inspire you, and you're like, reach out, you're like, hey, I love your stuff, do you want to write something? And then you're like shocked when they say yes. And yeah.
So then you're talking about, so with other people who want to write, what was your intent for that?
Like any like Mork Borg or Mothership, like very open third party system. Like, I mean, that's kind of what's making those games, right? Like just the openness of them, so anyone can kind of publish stuff. I want to do something like that with Ruination Pilgrimage. If there's interest, I think that'd be great. I think, I always have these measurements. Like, I finally made it when I'm like, hey, wouldn't I finally make it if someone is self-publishing an adventure for the system I wrote? It's my next personal stretch goal.
Yeah, and I think going back to the Wizards with Hasbro putting stuff into the Creative Commons. Yeah, I've kind of also thought about that too. It's like, if I develop a setting, would there be value in just putting the setting into Creative Commons?
Right. That is kind of weird. I mean, yeah, because what do you like? How much of a setting do you even? This is my current holdup. How much of a setting do you actually need? Like, I like very broad strokes. Some of my players, like, well, what about like, what's the specificness of this religion? I'm like, I don't care. I'm not that religious in real life, so it's hard for me to say. These are your 7 commandments for this religion. But that wouldn't be a bad way to approach it, actually. Huh, thanks, Jeff.
You're
You really helped me a
welcome.
lot tonight. You helped me a lot, and I feel like this interview is winding down. So, do you have any last words for me?
I think last words, it seems it puts a lot of pressure. I will say that's a good question. Do I have any last words? I would say I don't know.
Not with a bang, but a whimper.
Well, I guess I'm not really used to people like turning tables on me, and it's I guess I'm in a position of like.
Yeah, I thought that's why you invited me on, because you wanted someone to shake it up.
You did shake it up.
Someone to talk.
You did shake it up. I think if anybody shook it up, yes.
Oh,
thank
thanks.
you. My final words is yes. You are the shaker upper.
Well, hey, I'm always happy to come on and shake it up, turn some tables, roll some dice.
Yes, and talk about your I'm messing up. Perilous Ruins.
Perilous Ruins. Pilgrimage.
What's Perilous Ruins?
Perilous Ruins does sound like it's some Perplexing Ruins. That is an author, I believe I have.
Oh,
is it Perplexing Ruins, right?
It must be. Sorry.
Perilous Ruins.
I don't know. I'm going to stop before I get myself very confused.
So no, I chose Ruination Pilgrimage to kind of capture the the ruin, like the horrible forces of chaos and demons corrupting and ruining your body and soul. But pilgrimage is really important to me in this, because I wanted to kind of capture that like pilgrimage idea, like going on a quest to go visit a holy relic, right? Like, kind of, I want that vibe in there from shoot, the words just escaped me.
Is it a movie?
It's a book. Chaucer, in fact.
Oh yeah, the one that was this whole thing was. Oh yes.
Yeah. So I want that kind of like, you're traveling together, you're telling each other stories at night. It reduces your burdens. You're, making jokes. Like, camping isn't just who's going to set watch. It's all these mini games with roles. Mini, not a game, but you're rolling to see how well you can lessen the burdens of your fellow travelers.
So you really need to have a book, an actual series of stories like the Canterbury Tales now, but in your setting, and produce a fictional work.
Man, that's not a bad idea. You're hired. It's up to you, Mr. Jones.
I like how you did that. You're hired. It's up to you. I'm going to try that approach. I think that's good. That's good management approach.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great idea. I expect you to helm that idea and follow up with me next week in the all hands meeting.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate it, Don. Now I got some work to do.
Yeah, a little homework. Yeah, that's I actually do have a table of like mythological text, not mythological, but like, you know how we have the weird books like the what's the Codex Gigas and the, I can't even pronounce it, the Voynich manuscript. Like,
Oh yeah.
I want to do like just titles, like maybe just a table of 10 titles that you can find in the World of Ruination Pilgrimage, which really needs a name. But so one of the things was like, it's the heretical works of so and so, where you're actually like, this isn't really life. You're in hell right now.
So,
Are they really in hell?
oh,
Are we in hell?
well, you've seen The Good Place.
Uh, that's I was going to mention that earlier because I think that's probably one of the greatest shows ever. Just because a show's never made me cry that hard at the, like, my wife and I were bawling at the end, like that last episode. And maybe the one before it, just like bawling, because once again it taps into like any kind of loss that you've had in your life of a loved one, and or thinking about the loss of a loved one. Or
I think they ruined it the very last episode by having her come back as that little whatever light or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the whole point, was if you live forever, you just would finally come to a point where you don't want to exist anymore.
Yeah. So why would you want to do it over again?
Yeah, but boy, yeah, I agree. Everything was funny, everything was happy, but that second to last episode, it was just like, oh my goodness.
Right, you're feeling it all. You're feeling it pour on out.
Yes.
Good stuff.
All right, well, thank you, Don. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, at least. And I just want everybody to know that it's okay to cry.
It is okay to cry, especially for middle-aged white men. It's okay to cry.
It's definitely okay to cry. Maybe you can deal with some shit. I don't fucking know. Whoops, language.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll tell you what, I went through a lot of stuff. My mom went through, my stepdad went through dementia. He went through hospitalization, went through hospice and died. My mom went through hospitalization, hospice, and died within a month. And then my brother died like a month after that.
Oh yeah.
And I just I think back, I think it made me get through that. It's like I cried every day for like 2 months.
Right, you cry in the shower. You cry. You cry in the cooler at work.
You just like cry in front of people. It's like, okay.
And even years later, like it'll just sneak up on you sometimes.
It's the craziest stuff. Like,
I'm
not sure why this is happening now, but now all of a sudden this is really real. Like,
it's just a wave. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. My dad died I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
What did he die of?
It was like a race between cancer and then like the effects of treatment on his heart, I guess. Like, I think it was actually a heart attack, but if that didn't get him, like the cancer was gonna get him. And it kind of was it was an ugly end, like sudden. I don't know if it was sudden. I don't know.
Well, yeah, my go down the dark path. My brother died. He just lay down, was watching his basketball game, lay down, dead. My mom had pancreatic cancer. My sister ended up having brain cancer, in addition to throat cancer. It was weird. And they, both, it was not pleasant for either one of them. And like, if we go quick, it's like, it's much preferable.
Yeah. You don't want to see your loved ones suffer, but it still sucks when they're gone.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Wait, I thought we were going to redo the show as RPG Rumblings, and now it's RPG What is a good word for sadness?
Oh, that's not ruminations. That's thinking. Not regrets. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Remorse? No, not really.
No, you need more heartache. So that's a mechanic in my game. Like you kind of gain sorrow every time you miss a roll, like stress and mothership, but it just kind of weighs you down until eventually you have to despair. And that's why you're telling each other stories at the campfire to kind of alleviate that lesson a little bit. You're making connections with friends, playing some music on your lute. I don't know. I figured I'd tie it back in.
Yeah,
I like to
I mean,
the book.
yeah, I think that's a good idea. So you're saying is players, so at the end of a session, by them telling their stories, by players telling the stories, allows their characters to
No, because I hate having players do that, because not everybody is a gifted performer like you and myself, of course. But no, it's just like it's mechanical now. Like, yeah, hey, I'm gonna tell a story about, and some of the more our RPG-ish players, the role playing-ists, they will like, I'm gonna tell a story about how this, and then you like just I actually don't know how I have it now. I think you just do it, and everyone recovers. Like, their sorrow goes down by one. Yeah. So you don't actually have to tell a story in real life. You're just like, I'm going to tell a story, or hey, I'm working on this song, or if you're, because you have like, there are all these backgrounds, like 100 backgrounds of, I used to be a poet, and now I'm this fighter or whatever.
One of the things I tried to do in previous games, which a lot of times wasn't successful because I think people are too young to get it, was at the end of a like a campaign or whatever, I would just like, or I'd say like, have them give a montage.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think they were old enough to really understand.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorite scenes montage was from Northern Exposure, the TV series.
Mm-hmm.
And they would just, at the end of the episode, they would show sometimes the people, which I thought was kind of cool. But
yeah, I haven't thought about that show in forever. Nice.
I love that show. I don't know if it holds up. I'm afraid to watch it again.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes you just can't go back.
But they stay with me. Those thoughts that they had, like the guy who's the DJ, and he everybody in his everybody male in his family died at the same age. Is like, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And so he lived his whole life. He goes to the doctor and like, well, you got this. You take this pill, you'll live to be an old man. And he had this crisis. Like, he lived his whole life like he's on a diet, like 48. But if he takes this pill, like, and there's a lot of things he did that he lived in a way that wasn't expecting to live past there, and decisions that he made. It was kind of interesting. Like, do I take this pill or not take this pill?
Yeah, I've actually known a lot of people like that who say, I didn't think I'd live past 28. So what am I going to do now? And then some of them gone to die. But anyway, because they were living harsh alcoholic, drug lives, making bad decisions. But on that note,
yes, on that happy note,
on this happy note, this is the despair episode with Donn Stroud.
Yes, and feel free to tell a story to your friends afterwards to remove the despair that you felt listening to this.
Yeah.
The sorrow. What was the mechanic? Was it reduce?
So it reduces sorrow.
Yes.
Like despair is when you're in mothership. It's called a panic check. This is a despair check, and it's not great to despair because you could even open yourself up to possession by a demonic entity, because it is medieval horror.
So not to extend this out, but just because because you keep offering these shiny bits.
Yes.
So, because I have to ask now, because you just threw that out there. Okay, so
Yeah.
so if a person just gets possessed, are they out of the game, or is this kind of like an on and off again?
Well, let me tell you, we do have priests, and priests can, of course, perform exorcisms. And I did whip up a table on how to do exorcisms in DCC. It was in Lesser Key to the Celestial Legion, and it was a lot based on Exorcist, the movie.
So what you could do is you could have some headbands and leotards, and you could have the exorcisms, and you could have Richard Simmons.
The exorcism, the exorcising exorcism.
Yeah, the exorcisms.
Yeah. There's always an option to exorcise those demons before you lose your character.
Or is it excise?
That's yeah, there are demons that you have to excise and exercise. You need the surgeon, barber, and the priest.
That's fun.
Tenacious. Oh yeah, tenacious. Tenacious.
You have a surgeon and a priest.
Yeah, why not?
Well, then you could say maybe some of you'd need a pharmacist.
Yeah, apothecary. I believe that's a past, or that's like a past career, and that's an option. There's alchemy, apothecary, all that stuff. Herbalism. There's a lot of stuff you can be.
So each one of those could maybe you have demons that are like, maybe it takes like, you get like let's say 5 professions.
Yeah.
And certain demons take certain ones of those to be excised or exercised.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe some demons don't like the smoke of like burning blister wood, so that helps drive them away. And you got to have an herbalist go find that or something, or survivalist. There's a lot of fun stuff. I can't wait so people can play it.
Yes, and people will love it, and they can write material for it.
Yeah, they should. And then I would have made it.
Big time.
Big time. And you will almost have your book of short stories written by then.
Don't hold your breath.
You can do it. Focus, damn it.
Yes, that's the problem.
All right, I'm late for a very important date.
Well, you don't want to mess up with that date. So thanks for joining me, Donn.
Oh, as always, a pleasure.
Always. Every single time.
Every both time.
Every both time. Till next time, Donn.
Later.